I was taking somebody to a meeting a couple of weeks ago. He was driving, and he came up in back of someone traveling 60 miles an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone. Terrible, huh? He said, "What is this? 60 miles an hour? It says it's 65 mile an hour zone." I just kept my mouth shut. But anyway, I was wondering, what things cause you to be impatient? Abrasive people who talk but don't listen? Family members, maybe? Some push your buttons? Delays on the interstate? Slow rush hour traffic? Maybe crowds of people. Just can't move fast enough or freely enough. People get in your way. A slow checkout line at the supermarket, or a long line in the post office or the bank teller's window, or you wish you could be up at the front sooner than later. Trying to leave the parking lot after a ball game. Try the fireworks after the West Haven fireworks at Pumpkins. You'll be there for quite a while trying to leave. Car trouble that leaves you stranded somewhere, or when you lock your keys in the car. My greatest story of that was when I locked them in my Volkswagen when I was a student in New York under the trestle of the subway tracks near 125th Street, and the motor was still running. I could not get into the car. A police officer would not help me break into my car. I had to go to the seminary, which was blocks down the street, to get my another spare of keys. No, I beg your pardon, a screwdriver. I didn't have a spare set of keys. It was a screwdriver. I pried that little triangular window open, wrecked it, bent it, and everything else in order to get into the car to turn off the engine. Patience, when it's sincere, is a wonderful thing that treats people with kindness, including yourself, really. Lowers your blood pressure and theirs, the other person's. It takes a lot of stress out of life, but for many, impatience is a lot easier said than done. Patience, when it's sincere, improves our relationships manyfold. Greatly enhances accurate communication because a patient person is also able to listen very carefully and not jump in so soon. Is willing to hear someone else's point of view was one of the lyrics in the piece we just heard. That really caught me when I heard that. Understanding people before you respond, and helps you in dealing with tough times in general. If we could just see people as Jesus sees people, we'd be much less impatient and much more understanding of delays that we experience in our relationships. One of Jesus' characteristics is that of being long-suffering on our behalf. Long-suffering. When we see people as Jesus sees them, we spend time, less time rather, putting others in their place and judging others and becoming impatient with them. And considerably, we spend more time putting ourselves in their place. I don't mean I'm going to put you in your place. I mean putting yourself in their place. Talking about empathy. And thereby developing compassion and patience in the relationship. Real patience increases our ability to deal with impatient people, and even has the ability to transform groups of people, including churches where people are patient. They become more patient with each other's ideas and personalities because we're in intimate relationships with each other. At least two major reasons why patience is easier said than done are these. One is that impatience is built right into our human nature. Hard to get away from it. We're born with it. You ever known a baby who's wet and they're hungry and suddenly becomes quiet, and you think the baby must be thinking, oh, I know that my parents are busy and they're tired. I'm going to hold up crying up a storm and having a tantrum until they've had a little chance to rest up. It's on demand, is what I'm saying. And that's one of the things parents have to get used to, because babies are on demand. Even as adults, some folks are slow to learn and adjust to having to wait for what they want when they want it now. And most parents know about the impatient one in the back seat on a long trip who says either something like, I've got to go, or how long is it before we get there? And the story is told about one such 4-year-old in the back seat. When are we going to get there? Mom replied, no, I don't want you to ask that again, because it had been asked multiple times already. So don't ask when we are going to get there again. So then there was silence in the back seat for a little while, and then the little voice piped up with, Mom, will I still be 4 years old when we get there? Thank you, Wynn. Impatience is built into human nature and isn't one of our most admirable characteristics. We have to watch out for it, because it does get in the way of communication, listening, and the quality of relations. The book of Proverbs in the 14th chapter, verse 9, tells us, a patient person has great understanding, but a quick-tempered one displays folly. The Greek word for patience is to be slow of anger, to have a long fuse and a short memory. But unfortunately, many have a short fuse and a long memory, and we keep digging them up, those memories, trying to use them again because we've never put them to rest, really. Impatience seems to be inbred in our human nature. Secondly, patience is easier said than done because it runs counter to our culture, which is one of hurry, hurry, hurry. I want it now. Hurry is better. Fast is better. Not long ago, I was visiting a family in their home. First time I saw this happen before. I was sitting there, and the mom and dad were wanting their children to come into the room. Well, they were just in the next room. So what does mom do? She takes out her cell phone and calls them on the phone. Or maybe she texts. No, she talked to them. I remember now that she talked to them. I mean, I've never seen that one before. Not able to get up and walk a few steps to deliver the message, but having to call someone in the next room. Virginia Brazier, maybe you don't know the name, but she's a writer, and she wrote, "This is the age of the half-read page, the quick cash and the mad dash, the bright night with the nerves tight, the plane hop with a brief stop, the brain strain and the heart pain, and the cat naps till the spring snaps, and the fun's done." Everything in our culture is fast. Why is fast valued as so much better? In many instances, we buy into fast because we tend toward impatience. We want everything to be convenient. We want to be able to say, wow, look at this, I can do this, I don't have to move, I can get it to happen now. How many instances we buy into fast because we tend toward impatience, and not so much because fast is better. We just tend toward it. Writer Max Lucado has written both seriously and with tongue-in-cheek, "We are," he said, quote, "the country of shortcuts and fast lanes. We're the only nation on earth with a mountain called
Rushmore."
Rushmore. Oh, yeah, that was great. Came up with the answer with no trouble. Ruined my punchline. But no, I really wanted you to say it. Ever heard of the patience test? Let's see how good you are. You are too impatient if you've ever left a restaurant before because a server took too long to serve your order. You are too impatient if reading a bedtime story you skip a page or two to expedite the process. You're too impatient if you have put your makeup on or tied your necktie while driving your car to work. I saw a few grimaces or funny faces out there. I don't know which ones are connecting. You are too impatient if when you see a yellow light, you accelerate instead of slow down. See if you can get through that. And you kind of glance and see it blink red just as you're going under it. Ah, maybe. I guess I revealed myself in that one. I just looked too enthusiastic about that idea. You are too impatient if at a wedding reception you want to reconfigure the line at the buffet table. Or you're too impatient if during a sermon you've asked yourself, how much longer is he going to speak? You know, that's risky. To use that as an example. You're too impatient if you've ever cut through a corner parking lot of a gas station or convenience store in order to avoid the stoplight at the intersection. You're too impatient if your children think their first names are, come on, hurry up, let's move it. Well, one definition of patience in the Bible that pervades the Bible is this. Patience is a calm, peaceful endurance based upon the certainty that God is in control. The phrase waiting upon the Lord is the Old Testament's way of describing the opposite of impatience. The people of ancient Israel, whose long faith history we read of in the Old Testament, were often challenged to learn patience by having to wait, by God's command. It meant that you stay where you are when God says stay, and you go when God says go. It was that way when they thought of going back to Egypt instead of crossing the Red Sea to a new place. You didn't want to wait. Patience requires that you live life at God's pace, placing your faith that God knows better than you do what is needed in a situation, trusting in that. The late preacher Philip Brooks was noted for his poise, his quiet manner, until one day a colleague saw him pacing back and forth in his office and asked, what's wrong? And he said, I'm in a hurry, but God is not. He apparently wanted something to happen yesterday. Old Testament prophet Isaiah wisely reminds us, wait for the Lord, and you will mount up with wings like eagles. You'll run and not grow weary. You'll walk and you won't become faint. As the Apostle Paul writes, our love toward others is to be of the patient kind. That's a sign of the kind of love we're looking for to live in us and to show forth through us. How do you learn to be that way, given what human nature is like and what the culture says and is constantly pressuring you to be in a hurry? Staying close in a relationship to Christ in our daily lives is an important part of that answer. Jesus says, I am the vine and you are the branches. He who remains in me and I in that person bears much fruit. That relationship slows us down to consider what's happening in a more profound way than just hurry, 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 and I've got to get it now. A powerful way to learn patience is to associate with the one who is patient. Jesus is the one. Patience is the fruit of the Holy Spirit when it is leading our lives. The byproduct of a Spirit-led life is patience. That is why patience is listed as one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit's presence, by which we know it is present in our lives. A very definite sign of a growing Christian faith is the growth of patience then in ourselves. And if you don't see that happening, something of faith may be missing and may be the key at the same time to opening the door to growing some more in our Spirit-led life. The writer in Colossians wisely says, therefore, as God's people, holy and dearly loved by God, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and guess what?
Patience.
All at once?
Patience.
See, I don't have to have the last word, you do. God bless us all to be patient with the help of God. Amen.
Amen.